In the fall of 1903, the quiet town of Van Meter, Iowa was thrown into chaos. People in this little farming town had never seen anything like it before. A silent figure gliding across rooftops, a blinding beam of light shooting from a strange horn in its head, and then gunshots. Lots of them. The town's most respected citizens opened fire night after night, but whatever this thing was, it didn't die. It didn't even bleed. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. Welcome back to Legends May Live, where we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the downright eerie. I'm Drew, and today we're chasing shadows through cornfields, searching for Iowa's own monster in the dark, the Van Meter Visitor. On September 29th, 1903, U.G. Griffith, a local tool and hardware dealer, stepped out of his shop, closed the door, and dug around in his pocket for the keys. As he did, he got this eerie feeling that he was being watched. He looked around, but it was late and the streets were empty, so he finished locking up, but as he turned, something on a nearby rooftop caught his eye. It looked like a large man, just staring at him, but it was hard to make out. So he decided to get a closer look to see if this was some guy, and if so, what they wanted with him. But as Griffith approached, the figure leapt across the street, effortlessly. It didn't get a run and go, it just did a standing jump off of the building to the other side of the street. He didn't see it land, he had already turned to run for help. But by the time he returned, the thing that he saw was gone. The next night, another townsman named Clarence Dunn was serving his duty to guard the vault at the bank where he worked. In 1903, there was no real security system, so usually the bank manager was the security. And what they would do is stay overnight to keep watch, or they would hire a night watchman. Either way, it was a quiet night and Clarence had fallen asleep. He was confident that any attempts to break in would cause him to wake up. And sure enough, in the middle of the night, he's jolted awake by this loud thud at the door. He listens closely, and then there's another thud, followed by some sort of scraping sound. So he's thinking someone was out there kicking and using a crowbar to try to pry the locked doors open. So right away, he gets up, grabs a shotgun. He quietly went out the back door and crept around the side of the bank. But just as he rounded the corner, he came face to face with a monster-like creature. It was tall, at least 8 feet, with huge, leathery, bat-like wings. And then on its head, it had this oddly blunt horn that kind of glowed similar to how fireflies shine. It was casting an eerie beam of light through the fog. Dunn was immediately shocked and horrified by this humanoid that looked like it crawled straight out of hell. So he raised up his shotgun and fired all 5 rounds from his pump-action Winchester 1897. He hit this thing directly in the chest, or so he thought. But if they did make contact, they barely phased whatever this thing was. It leapt toward the sky and quickly vanished over the rooftops. By the third night, Van Meter was gripped with fear. This wasn't just a one-off. These sightings were increasing, and now they were happening all over town. Dr. Alcott, a prominent local physician, also saw the creature, but this time it left behind a stench so foul he reportedly vomited. Other townspeople began seeing the light beam, sometimes before the creature appeared and sometimes after. Some thought it was a ghost, others a demon, but a few insisted it was an extraterrestrial. The most alarming report came from an old abandoned brickyard mine on the edge of town. That's where they heard it. Not just one creature, but 2. Wings flapping, shrill cries in the dark. One resident swore he saw the creatures fly into the mine shaft and disappear below. Right away, the townsmen decided that they were not going to let this thing terrorize them any longer. And now that they knew where it was living, they grabbed their guns, formed a posse, and gathered outside the brickyard mines. They came with lanterns, rifles, and dynamite, prepared to seal the mine for good. At dawn, the creatures emerged, both of them. They were startled by the mob and flew overhead as the men opened fire. Each man fired off as many rounds as he could at these beasts, but Just like before, there was no sign of injuries, no blood, or anything more than a mild annoyance. The creatures just returned and dipped back into the shaft. But when the townspeople saw that they were back in the tunnel, they quickly placed their dynamite and blew the mine shut. And that was it. The man-meter visitor was never seen again. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Some say it was a misidentified bird, an owl, or a crane. Others claim it was hysteria, fueled by rumors and fear. But none of that explains the light or the stench, or why so many people reported seeing the same thing. There are even those who believe that the mine was more than a hiding place, that it was a gateway to somewhere deeper and darker. So what was the Van Meter visitor? A mutant creature? An alien? A misremembered folktale? Or is it still down there, waiting? Thanks for listening to Legends May Live. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who loves a bizarre tale. Until next time, keep a lookout and keep your eyes open, because legends may live.